Related question, you just voted for the 702 reauthorization of FISA. It's the part of the government program that allows surveillance of foreign nationals, but it's possible Americans can be in those interactions, right? American can be talking to a foreign national who has a FISA surveillance warrant out against them. A lot of people with concerns about abuse of that program. A lot of Democrats voted against it. Given your concerns about the Trump administration, your concerns about Donald Trump, his respect for norms and the rule of law, why would you vote to give him that kind of authority?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that we haven't seen abuse of the 702 program. No one has used it to reverse target Americans. There's no evidence of any intentional effort to abuse the program. And we have, I think, a very serious set of safeguards that have made that have protected against any potential abuse. So the steps that we were taking were designed to prevent future abuse of the program. And we imposed a warrant requirement where 702 never had one in the past. Now, some would like it to have been broader than it is, but it was a compromise, and I think a responsible one. Because, while I do, yes, have very serious concerns about the administration, I also have very serious concerns that we not prevent the intelligence community from getting the information they need to protect the country.
Nevertheless, we found that investigators failed to meet their basic obligations of ensuring that the FISA applications were scrupulously accurate. We identified significant inaccuracies and omissions in each of the 4 applications, 7 in the first application and a total of 17 by the final renewal application. For example, the Crossfire Hurricane team obtained information from Steele's primary subsource in January 2017 that raised significant questions about the reliability of the Steele reporting. This was particularly noteworthy because the FISA applications relied entirely on information from the primary subsource's reporting to support the allegation that Page was coordinating with the Russian government on 2016 U.S. presidential election activities.
Here, since you're a former federal prosecutor as well, the allegation that's being made by the Republicans that someone within the FBI or Justice Department could essentially trick or fool a federal judge at FISA to issue a warrant for surveillance, is that a profound ignorance about how this whole process works? Aren't there more checks and balances in place?
There are a lot of checks and balances in place. And what's more, that's a gross mischaracterization of what has happened here. And that is just an effort to undermine the FBI to do the president's bidding. There's no evidence of a corrupt effort to obtain warrants against people in the Trump campaign. That's been the president's narrative, but there's no evidence of that. And instead, what will be released by the president over the objections of the FBI, which is called the document, quite rightly misleading and inaccurate, is an effort to undermine the Russia investigation. Don't look at what the Russians did. Don't look at what the Trump campaign did in combination with the Russians. Just put the government on trial. And
Congressman,
he concluded that investigators did not give appropriate consideration or attention to facts that cut against probable cause, and that as the investigation progressed and more information tended to undermine or weaken the assertions in the FISA applications, investigators did not reassess the information supporting probable cause. Further, the agents and supervisory agents did not follow or even appear to know certain basic requirements in the Woods procedures. Although we did not find documentary or testimonial evidence of intentional misconduct, we also did not receive satisfactory explanations for any of the errors or omissions we identified.
To say that this court is a rubber stamp, or even another thing yet, to say that the FBI or the DOJ was acting in bad faith. And so while I can't get into the contents or even acknowledge what the underlying documents are about, I can say that the FBI director wanted the opportunity for the Bureau to come before our committee, explain its concerns with this document, and the Republicans said, we don't want to hear from them. I made a motion to bring the Department of Justice in and talk to the entire House about these memoranda, and they said, no, we don't want that either. We just want to put out our narrative, and we don't want to be encumbered by the facts.
We found, and as we outline here, are deeply concerned that so many basic and fundamental errors were made by 3 separate hand-picked investigative teams on one of the most sensitive FBI investigations after the matter had been briefed to the highest levels within the FBI, even though the information sought through the use of FISA authority related so closely to an ongoing presidential campaign, and even though those involved with the investigation knew that their actions would likely be subjected to close scrutiny. The circumstances reflect a failure, as we outline in the report, not just by those who prepared the applications, but also by the managers and supervisors in the Crossfire Hurricane chain of command, including FBI senior officials who were briefed as the investigation progressed. We believe that in the FBI's most sensitive and high-priority matters, and especially when seeking court permission to use an intrusive tool such as a FISA order, it's incumbent upon the entire chain of command at the organization, including senior officials, to take the necessary steps to ensure that they are sufficiently familiar with the facts and circumstances supporting and potentially undermining a FISA application in order to provide effective oversight consistent with their level of supervisory responsibility.